When writing an SBIR, STTR application, is it about the science or the market?
A resounding both.
I think the market becomes more important with phase two, clearly, because phase one is a relatively small application, and at least in our experience, we have tended to go more in the scientific side of this and preliminary data and so on, with an allusion to the size of the market for that indication. Whereas with phase two, there is a commercial section which is just as long as the research piece. So it clearly becomes more important as you move along.
And the phase two is a bigger award as well.
It's a much bigger award.
And I think
Bigger carrot.
that's important. I think that really with a phase one is what you're doing is presenting your research, saying that we logically think that there can be a product coming out of this. So our research has led us to believe, you know, and so you do talk about your research quite a bit, and you have to have good logic. You do have to talk about your market, though, because I mean, you do have to. You're kind of guessing, because phase two is all about developing the product. And in my case, we talked about our population. We said we did this upfront research, and we believe that if we develop the right approach, we can create a product that will have a big impact. But at that point, we weren't quite sure what our product was going to be until we got the SBIR phase one and did our work with that to develop the product. And so we were very much saying we have looked at the market piece. We think there's a market for this. We know there's a market for it if we can create the right product. But again, yeah, you can't talk a whole lot about your product because you usually just have an idea for it. At that point, you need to frame it. But you do, I think that's a little bit more academic, because you talk a lot about the background information and what your research has led to. So I would say that probably the SBIR phase one is probably about 75% research, and I think you almost, maybe not so much extreme, but you almost flip it for the phase two, because it's almost 25% research, because by phase two your research is kind of supposed to be finishing, and you're supposed to be moving into that marketing phase of the whole thing.
We have some really